problem here, we'll just have a look at cut by a simply inclined plane. Okay, so we can see the traces of our plane there. We can see our vertical trace and we can see our horizontal trace. Okay, here we also have our plan of our cone, okay, which is sitting flat on our horizontal plane, and we have our elevation of our cone up here. Okay, so the cone in diameter is 70, it has an overall height of 80. Okay, and it's cut by our simply inclined plane there, VTH. So basically we need to sketch out and plan what that cut section looks like when the cone is cut by that simply inclined plane. Okay, so in elevation, it's just nice and simple to straight across here. So our plane cuts straight to our cone there. It's a simply inclined plane. So when we look along our HT, look along our horizontal trace, okay, we can see it. Here's our point view. And then our elevation, we can just see exactly where it's cut through. So there's no real work involved there in our elevation to find out where it cut through. Okay, so all I can do with that, or all I have to do with that really, is I can just heavy in the cone up as far as my vertical trace. Give me all the cut detail inside of my elevation, so there's no real working out involved in that. Okay, so that's basically the cone cut off in elevation. In order to find out where it cuts through in plan, okay, for the majority of it, it's nice and simple. Okay, so if we look here just at a mock-up of that there inside in SolidWorks, okay, this is what we're looking at here. Okay, we're a cone sitting on a horizontal plane, and it's cut there by that simply inclined plane, that light see-through on there cutting down through it. So if we look at an elevation, okay, we can see that clearly what it looks like, and we can just about make out still our simply inclined plane there cutting through it. Okay, so the top of it then basically would disappear. Okay, and if we look at that then in our plan, okay, that's the shape that we are aiming for. That's the shape we're looking to get inside in our plan. Okay, so that's the shape it makes when it cuts through our cone. As I said, for the majority of it, it's nice and simple. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to work on putting in generators on the surface of our cone. So if we just look at our first generator that we put in, okay, so our generator, it's our line basically down on the surface of the cone, going from the apex right down to the base, right down to a point on the base. Okay, so we have that there. We have one of those there put in. Okay, so when we look at that inside in our elevation, okay, we can see again clearly where that cone cuts through that generator at that point, and we can just simply then drop that point down to plan, and we will have that point then on our cone. Okay, so for the majority of it, it's nice and simple. So we'll go and we'll work through that as much as we can. As I said, for the majority of it, nice and simple. There's one or two points though that we'll need to do additional work. So first of all, for our generators, I'm just going to divide up my cone in plan as I normally would. We'll say using our 60-30 method. Okay, so going straight through the center using our 60-30 method. So every line straight through the center, from our apex down to our base. Okay, using our 60-30. So I'll just work ahead now and get that done. Okay, so there's all my generators put in. There's nothing difficult in that. That's just junior cert work. Okay, so I will number the generators all the way around the base, and we'll number them also inside in our elevation. And the apex of my cone, I'll always just refer to that as 0. Okay, so for example, this generator here is 0.7, and that's going to go down along on my cone. Okay, so the apex is 0. Okay, we can see it there inside in our elevation. Apex means 0, and it's going to go down. I'm just going to project up 7, so that's on the floor, that's on the ground, hitting the horizontal plane. So I just project that up to my elevation. Okay, so project up 7, and I know 11 is the one that's going to be opposite that, or at the back of the cone, that we can't really see. Okay, so that's 7. Okay, 11 is going to be behind it, so I'll just label it in as well. Okay, but the one I see there on the front surface of that cone as I'm looking at it is 0.7. Okay, so there's the generator 0.7 put in on that cone, and I can see clearly there where my plane cuts through the generator 0.7. Okay, so that's the point, one of my points now that I'm looking for inside in my plan. Okay, so we can see that there. that'll be that point, and we can clearly see that it's on our cut surface there. Okay, so just drop down that point to my plan, 0.7, and it also hits 0.11 on the back side of the cone. It hits that in the very same place, just at the other side of my cone. Okay, so that's the point I can see there in elevation, but there is one directly behind it there going down along the far surface of that cone there. Okay, so that two of those points are found from that generator there, 0.7 going down. Of course, there is 0.11 going down the far side directly behind it. So I'm just going to work through and do the same for my other ones there. Obviously the outside one, I can just bring that straight down. That's on that generator, and the same for this outside one here. Okay, so I'm just going to bring these up first to my base. Okay, so this is 5.1, so just label that as 5.1. Okay, I put in my generator then down to those. So I'm just going to work away and go do the same for all those generators and bring down my points. Okay, so just skipping ahead there now to all of those points being marked out on all those generators that'll be running down along the surface of my cone from the apex down to the base. They have an elevation from the apex down to the base. Okay, so the issue may arise when I try and project down the one from 0.6 and 0.12, because when I project that down, it just lines up along the line there, so it's not actually crossing over the line. Okay, so we're going to do additional work then to sort that out. Okay, so back over to our SolidWorks model, if we just have a look at that there. Okay, so I'm just going to put in the next generator, which would be 0.6. Okay, so there's that generator there placed in down along the surface of my cone. Okay, and we have the same issue when we're looking at that in my elevation. Okay, obviously when I project that to my plan and my drawing, I don't know where it crosses. Okay, obviously here in this model, okay, it's obviously a lot easier to see because that shape is already cut from that cone, so we can see exactly where it crosses over. Okay, so in order to establish that exact point in my drawing, I'm going to insert another plane. Okay, and the plane I'm going to insert is going to be a horizontal cutting plane going straight through that point. Okay, so I'm going to insert that horizontal cutting plane in there now. Okay, going straight through that point. So when we look at that inner elevation, okay, we can see that there clearly. It's going straight through our point here. Okay, so that's where we're inserting a horizontal cutting plane. And what that basically does, that's going to allow me to establish the point in my plan. Because when I cut through that cone with a horizontal plane, it's going to give me a circle. Okay, so there's my circle that I get, and I can see that clearly when I look at the plan. Okay, I can see that blue circle there, and it locates that point for me on my cutout. So that is on my horizontal cutting plane. Okay, so we can see that I just hid that plane, so you can see it a little clearly. Okay, a little clearer. Okay, so there is my point that I'm looking for. So I'll put in my horizontal cutting plane, which will generate a circle for me, and then I can drop that down to my plan, and wherever that cuts the generator, then that obviously has to be the point that I'm looking for. So I can do that for both 6 and 12. I drawn. So I put in my horizontal cutting plane. Okay, so I'm just going to put that in yellow. Hopefully it'll pick up on the screen. So going straight through this point here. Okay, I'm going to put in that horizontal cutting plane. Okay, so slices straight through our object. Okay. And what I can do then is I can either measure that with my compass and draw my circle and plan, and it'll cut somewhere here, or I can take that point. Okay, I can drop that down because that is obviously the outside of my circle. Okay, when the horizontal cutting plane cuts through the cone. Okay, it's essentially the same thing. I'm just going to take that diameter, or take that radius I should say. So with my compass, I'm just going to measure that radius. I'm accurate, and I can sketch that then into my plan. Okay, so we can see that circle there. So I'll just go there in my yellow, because it's a yellow cutting plane, so I like to have it yellow in my plan then as well. You clearly see there now that horizontal cutting plane is after resulting in that circle there on my cone. I could put another cutting plane, another horizontal one up higher, and it's going to give me a smaller circle. If I put one in down lower, going across, it'll going to give me a much bigger circle. Okay, because of the horizontal cutting plane. So essentially, the real horizontal plane makes a circle as well when it cuts through the cone. Okay, which in this case is just the base of our cone. So that's my point I'm looking for, and that's the other point I'm looking for. And now I just freehand those points together as neat as I can get it, and then I will have my shape that I'm looking for in plan. Back in my SolidWorks model, when I put in my cut, okay, so there's that surface, there's that cone cut off by that surface, and we can still see that circle that we were left with when we created a horizontal cut with that horizontal plane, cutting plane. Okay, and cut right through that point, and that will be the generator at the back side where we cut through from 0 to 12. Okay, so we can look down our plan and we can look at our elevation. So we get a nice smooth curve there, obviously in our SolidWorks model. Okay, and that's our other one finished then. Okay, so just take your time and get them as smooth as you can. So just go over that and try and smooth off any bits that are on it, and maybe go over the base of the cone as well, and just make it as heavy as my outline is here. Okay.